Yo, Kpaceguy here, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm doing another Q&A with Kpaceguy. About a month or so ago, I asked you guys in the community tab to leave me some questions you may have, home theater related about me, whatever you guys want to ask me within reason, and I'll answer them on a YouTube video. Now, we did this before, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. The first Q&A video did very, very good, so we're back to do another one, and I'm sure I'll do another one some other time, so stay tuned for that. So, I have some questions here on the community post that I posted on my channel, and we're going to start off with Trix890, and he asks, and this is his words, he says, subwoofer isn't getting that deep bass. I'm guessing you're asking me, why are you not getting that deep bass? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but I'll probably give you the main few. So you may be sitting in a null. Your positioning may be in a bad spot for bass, meaning there's a huge dip in overall volume for most of the frequencies your subwoofer is playing. So you may need to play with subwoofer placement. You may have your subwoofer placed where it looks nice and it's aesthetically pleasing, but it may not be really good for frequency response, for a good bit of bass. You're not sitting in a good place, or your subwoofer is not placed in a good spot to give you optimal performance. So play around with placement. You may find that will make a huge difference. Another big thing is phase. If you're using 2 or more subs, or you're using speakers that you have that's giving you a lot of bass, you may be canceling out some of your bass response. You may need to play with your phase switch, or if you have an app or a knob, you may need to play with the variable phase switch and find your best phase setting. I have plenty of videos on phase, crossover, and subwoofer placement, and they're down below in the how-to playlist, so check those out. It can really, really help you. All right, Malaya Cunningham has 2 questions, but we'll start with this one. The first one is there ever a time when you stop and say, this is the perfect home theater setup, I will not change it? Or does it constantly change forever? So this question's hard to answer because electronics and technology never stops growing. So there's always something better out there. Kind of like shoes, fashion, whatever. Everything, there's always something better than what you have. Phone, whatever. It never stops evolving. That's everything in life. And home theater is definitely no exception. There is a point though when I've said, okay, I have what I want, I'm good. And I'm actually at that point now. I'm very happy with everything that I have. And the reason why I came to that is because of the environment that I'm in. Now, if I had a bigger room, or I had a basement, or I had whatever, more space, then I would probably look at different equipment to fill that space, right? But I've done everything that I can for this particular space, and there's nothing else that I can do to it. So I'm happy with what I've accomplished within the walls that I'm within. But as soon as I move and I get a bigger house and I get a bigger room with taller ceilings and wooden floors and this, that, and the other, then it's gonna open up opportunity to try different equipment that fits better in that room. And I'll sell everything in here or give it all away and then start all over again. But this will always be my benchmark, and my bar will always keep raising. So I am happy with what I have, and I'm not going to change it in this room. But whenever life, advances for me, I will definitely be changing something in the long run. Like I said, I want a projector and I want a new Anthem preprocessor, but amplifier, all that stuff. So things are always changing, but I'm very happy with what I have, and that's what's important. I got a wise guy here named Hugh Jazz. He's been around for a while. He says, isn't this pic supposed to go on Tinder? I used a picture. I don't take very many pictures of myself, and I had this one that looked decent, so I posted it. I didn't know what to post, so I chose this one. No, it's not supposed to be on Tinder, but I mean, if you have a girl for me, let me know. I'll be more than happy to send her this picture. Otherwise, I don't know. I just posted it. This next one is from Bryce Minor, and he asks, what do you like to learn about more in regards to home theater? What piece of equipment do you have your eyes on? Okay, so let's start with the first question. What do you like to learn more about in regards to home theater? It's really tough. I kind of don't know that I don't know something until I hear about it, and then I know that I don't know, if that makes any sense. Like, there's so much to know about home theater or music or audio or acoustics or whatever in general, that you don't know what you don't know until you realize that you didn't know it because you didn't know it existed. If that makes any sense. There's just so much to learn about. But I guess if I had to answer the question, it'd probably be more about TVs and projectors and the visual side of things. I can tell you all day about audio and get all that correct, but audio is just one part of a home theater. You have to be really good at TVs and calibration and setting up a good picture and getting your projector right and this, that, and the other. And although I may appear to be pretty knowledgeable on that side, it is trial and error for me. I don't always get it correct the first few times, but as I keep messing things up, I figure it out and then I make a YouTube video about it. So I sound like a genius to you guys, but over here on my side, I messed up about 4 times before I got it correct. So I would like to refine my skills when it comes to calibration and seeing an image and knowing, okay, that's too sharp, that's too much white balance, that's too much color, this, that, and the other. I want to be able to see that as well as I can hear. I want to be able to see as well as I can hear. So that would be that question, the answer to that question. What piece of equipment do you have your eyes on? I'll give you 2. I want a new projector, 100%. I've had mine for a little over a year now, almost 2 years this summer, and I love it. It does great HDR formats, 4K, blah, 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 blah. Really good, really bright, really quiet. It goes great. But I feel like I'm missing something in the picture. And I have things in my cart, and I've done research on other projectors. Even though I'm not gonna buy one for a while, I still want one maybe this summer. And so I'm definitely eyeing a new projector, maybe Optima, BenQ, Sony, something like that. I don't want to spend like a crazy amount of money on one, but I do want to do a substantial upgrade if I'm going to buy one. So I've been looking at projectors, and then I've also been looking at Anthem amplifiers. I have a really nice monoprice model amplifier, which does just fine, has had 0 problems, but there's something about matching your equipment together that just makes everything so cohesive. I'm curious to see and hear what something of that stature sounds like versus the monoprice. Monoprice isn't cheap, especially not now. I bought mine for $14.99. You're not finding it anywhere near $14.99 anymore. But the Anthem is still supposedly a class higher, so I want to see why. I want to hear why. And yeah, Anthem's not going to send me out anything free, so I'm going to have to buy it myself. So I'm going to have, that's kind of what I'm eyeing, is one of their amplifiers and then a new projector. All right, Malaya Cunningham has 2 questions, but we'll start with this one. The first one is there ever a time when you stop and say, this is the perfect home theater setup? I will not change it. Or does it constantly change forever? So this question's hard to answer because electronics and technology never stops growing. So there's always something better out there. Kind of like shoes, fashion, whatever. Everything, there's always something better than what you have. Phone, whatever. It never stops evolving. That's everything in life. And home theater is definitely no exception. There is a point though when I've said, okay, I have what I want, I'm good. And I'm actually at that point now. I'm very happy with everything that I have. And the reason why I came to that is because of the environment that I'm in. Now, if I had a bigger room or I had a basement or I had whatever, more space, then I would probably look at different equipment to fill that space, right? But I've done everything that I can for this particular space, and there's nothing else that I can do to it. So I'm happy with what I've accomplished within the walls that I'm within. But as soon as I move and I get a bigger house and I get a bigger room with taller ceilings and wooden floors and this, that, and the other, then it's gonna open up opportunity to try different equipment that fits better in that room. And I'll sell everything in here or give it all away and then start all over again. But this will always be my benchmark and my bar will always keep raising. So I am happy with what I have and I'm not going to change it in this room. But whenever life, advances for me, I will definitely be changing something in the long run. Like I said, I want a projector and I want a new Anthem preprocessor, but amplifier, all that stuff. So things are always changing, but I'm very happy with what I have, and that's what's important. All right, Malaya also asked a really good question as well. She asks, what are the top 3 most important pieces of equipment to have in any home theater? Top 3. Whew. Number 1 is a surge protector. I don't care how much your equipment costs, your TV and your electronics, I don't care how much they cost. If you're not protecting them with a surge protector, you are risking it all. Risking it all. Not just a power strip, that's different. That has 6, 7, 8 plugs, that's not a surge protector. A surge protector is something that cleans up the power and has a Joule rating, Joules, joules. It has a joules rating on them so that you know how much voltage it can protect before blowing up, basically. And so it protects all of your equipment from random surge power. We know that wall power coming out of your outlets is very dirty and it can spike at any moment. A thunderstorm comes by and it hits your house, hits your line, it fries everything. Surge protectors protect your equipment, your investment. If you don't have one, you are low-key a maniac. I have a surge protector on almost everything that I have plugged into a wall. So you need one of those. Second most important equipment in the home theater is going to be the AVR or the preprocessor of choice. That's your central hub. That's what gives the brains behind everything. That's what usually powers your speakers. That's what processes all the signal. That's what you plug all your HDMI inputs to. It's important to get a good one that's gonna last you a while, because receivers and amplifiers upgrade every month or every year cycle. They have something new. You want to get something that's so good that you don't feel the itch to upgrade every year, or you're going to be broke every year. You want to find something that will, nothing is future-proof anymore, but you want to get something that will last you a few years, so that you don't have to upgrade so fast. So AVR / preprocessor / integrated amplifier / integrated stereo, whatever, you make sure that that's what you want that will last you for a while. That's the second most important thing. The third most important piece of equipment is, I'm kind of looking around my room trying to figure out. I would have to say the seating. The seating is the third most important thing in your home theater, because you have to sit there and watch it every day. And whoever you invite has to be comfortable every day. You can have the nicest TV and the best sound possible, but if you're sitting on a bar stool the entire time, you're gonna get uncomfortable and you're not gonna wanna be in there very much. It's gonna take away from everything you spent because you're not comfortable sitting down. And vice versa, you can have a really nice, comfortable chair and have a bad TV and still enjoy yourself because you feel comfortable. Nice place to lounge, the couch feels good, plenty of space for everybody, you're not cramped up. So seating is super important and probably most underrated. Don't skimp out on your seating because you have to sit there and enjoy everything that you're watching for a long period of time. So make sure you don't skip out on your seating. So what is it? It's a surge protector, your seating, and what I say, I can't remember it. We're moving on. All right, Raiden Digital asked me a question that I feel like he's had a lot of problems with this, so now he wants to know if anybody else out there has had any problems. He asked, what's the most trouble you ever had getting a Blu-ray disc to play? It's not been my Blu-ray discs, because typically when I watch a movie, I never watch it again. Once I see it once, I never go back and watch it again, unless it's just that good. That's rare. But I've had Blu-ray players having trouble play a certain disc. For example, just recently, maybe a month ago, I had bought, I don't know if it was Mulan or some horror movie I bought, Don't Breathe #2. I was watching that and it was a brand new disc that I just unwrapped and stuck into the DVD player to watch, and it wouldn't get past this one scene in this chapter. No matter what I did, I had to change it to 1080p. It was a 4K Ultra HD disc. I changed it to 1080p and it worked okay for most part, still kind of glitchy. But watching it in 4K, this one scene just kept freezing. And then once it got past the freezing, if you couldn't fast forward past it or rewind it once it got there, it got stuck, but you could skip the chapter. So I tried to skip the chapter and rewind it to that point, and you got there, but then the lip sync was off. It was just so stupid. And I couldn't watch, it took me 30 minutes to figure out what to do. So I just decided to change the HDMI cable out, and that kind of helped it too. I don't know if the bandwidth, that 4K scene was so heavy, I had to change my HDMI cord and I had to change it to 1080p. I don't know what happened, but it frustrated me. John Torres asks here, last year you posted a review on the ON 42-inch Atmos soundbar and subwoofer. Can you guide on speaker settings? I'm trying to tweak it and just can't find the right combo settings. Thanks. Okay, first and foremost, and this goes for every soundbar out there, if you're using a Dolby Atmos soundbar, which is what this is, crank your Dolby Atmos speakers to max. Mine goes up to 10. Crank them to 10, crank them to 10. Next, if you don't have dedicated surround sounds, a lot of Vizio soundbars do, some Samsung, some Sony, some LGs, but a lot of soundbars are just still one strip of speakers that use the walls to reflect sound around the room. If you don't have dedicated surround sound speakers, you need to crank your surround sound speakers to max as well. Crank your Dolby Atmos speakers up and crank your side surround speakers all the way up to max, 100%. I always do that on every soundbar because it's so hard to get a really good surround sound effect from a strip of speakers sitting in one row, but they try it anyway. So you're gonna have to maximize the volume so that they can reach your ear at an audible level. So crank them all up. Usually you have a center channel control or treble control. I typically maximize my treble or keep it maybe 2 points from the top. So if you're at 10, 8, 7, something around there, because typically soundbars can sound very, very muddy because it's coming from one strip of plastic, sometimes from metal, but it can sound kind of muddy. So crank that treble up. And then the subwoofer bass, usually soundbar subwoofers get pretty loud, but they can sound muddy and distort really easily. So out of 10, I keep mine on 0, maybe 1. My on soundbar though, I keep it on as low as it can possibly go because the bass is so loud on the subwoofer, it's amazing. The bass, you have a bass control and a subwoofer control, and so I turn them all down because the bass from that sub is actually really good, and so you don't need it to be very loud. So I keep mine around -6 or whatever it went to, maybe 3/4 of the way down. And then if your front left and your front right, kind of blend them. I like my center channel volume to be louder than my front left, front right, because that's my dialogue. So I don't have them much louder. So my center channel is like maybe 3/4 of the way up, and then my front left, front right speakers are maybe a 4 or a 5, something kind of around there. All right, KP asks, who are your top 5 home theater YouTubers? Okay, I'm gonna, in no particular order, just top 5, all right? If you're watching this, and if I don't say your name, sorry. If I do say your name, I love you. So top 5, number 1, again, not in any particular order, but number 1 is gonna have to be Youthman, because Youthman kind of brought me up, I wanna say. Youthman was the first YouTuber to ever reach out to me and help me get started. Youthman also gave me recommendations and help on how to reach out to other companies to get things to review for you guys. He helped me get my first ever review on the Polk Audio L200s when they first came out. They sent them to me thanks to Youthman's help and a little bit of kick in the pants. He helped me get started with that, and since then the channel has been progressively growing. And so I do owe thanks to Youthman, and then he's constantly, followed up with me, see how I'm doing, included me in things that he can. So it's been great. So I have to mention Youthman, of course, and you guys are familiar with him. Number 2 is going to have to be, number 2. Top YouTuber, I'm gonna have to say the Villaman. The Villaman's channel is probably most similar to mine and vice versa, because my channel is not just home theater audio, it's also somewhat techie, somewhat TV projector stuff. Not many other audio channels are really doing that, like heavily on purpose necessarily. Youthman kind of does it, the home theater dude kind of does it because he's with Dream Media, but Youthman, or excuse me, the Villaman actually goes and compares TVs and does this and tests TVs and projectors and things out, all home theater stuff, not just speakers and subwoofers and electronics like that. And so that's kind of like my channel too. So, and I like the Villaman. His video quality is incredible. It's absolutely stellar. I love it. So props to him on his channel. It's amazing. It's great. So that's 2 of them right there. Number 3 would probably have to be, all right, number 3 on my list here is Build Montage. I had to look him up, I can't remember his name. Build Montage makes incredible videos. They're really high quality, and you can just tell it's a lot of work. A lot of what he does is showcase a lot of other people's home theaters. A lot of videos that I've watched are about somebody else, not much of himself, which is really nice to see, because a lot of people just talk about themselves and what they have. But this guy spends a lot of time talking about other people's home theaters and giving you guys views on other people's takes on home theater. And his production quality is incredible. He only has 23.4K subscribers, so he's around the same as me, but he does phenomenal work. So hopefully his channel grows and mine can grow, and people can discover small YouTubers like us, because we do work just as hard as the bigger YouTubers, but of course YouTube, how their algorithm doesn't favor the smaller YouTubers at first. So it's hard out there, but he does some incredible work. So shout out to him and everything that he does. I don't even know if he knows me or not, probably not, but he is great at what he does. Great commentary, great production quality. He's a great guy. I like what he does there. So that's number 3. Number 4 is going to have to be, I'm gonna have to say the home theater dude, because I started off watching him when I was first getting into home theater. I don't watch him much anymore. And that's probably because YouTube doesn't recommend me him anymore. I don't search for people to watch, I just watch what's recommended, and YouTube doesn't recommend me him anymore. It does Youthman and Audioholics a lot, and Chris, but Build Montage, he's recommended, but Dream Media home theater is on every now and then, but not that home theater dude. But I did watch him a lot growing up, or coming up, I should say. So I'll put him in number 4, in the top 4. And then number 5, number 5 is going to have to be Andrew Robinson. And he's a weird one for me because I first started watching him again when I first started getting to home theater. I watched him a lot, and then he stopped making videos for a while. Then he came back to them, and now they're fantastic. And he gets his hands on a lot of different products that I only dream about seeing. He reviews a lot of stuff that you don't ever get to see from most other people, so it's really nice. And then, of course, he writes everything out and reads it to you most of the time, so it's very constructed. And then he has, I think his wife, I don't know who that woman is, but maybe his wife gives her side of things too, so you have a second opinion. And the quality is really good. The lighting is always perfect. You know what you're gonna get from him. It's very structured. He throws in a couple jokes in there, so it's light and funny. But the products that he reviews are things you don't get to see often. And he gets to compare and contrast things together. He gets more than one speaker in a room at a time and puts them side by side so you get an idea of what's better. And he gets amplifiers and TVs, and he's a pretty open genre. He's a pretty big YouTuber too. I think he's probably one of the biggest out of all the home theater people. So that's really nice to see there. Now, I know I didn't mention Audioholics. For me, they're analytical. I don't get into the analytics of things. I find a lot of it to be over a lot of people's heads, and sometimes it's over mine too. It's really nitpicky to the gritty of things, and I'm not into that. I know how to make things work. I can't explain to you why it works. I just know when it works and when it doesn't. They get into why it works or why it doesn't work, and it's cool, and sometimes I watch them, but it's an older channel. And it seems to cater towards the older age people, and I'm 28, so I'm still kind of a kid at heart, and so I don't get into that just yet. So I didn't mention Z Reviews either, although I watch Z Reviews too, but he's the only person who can do what he does. Nobody else can do what he does because he likes to tell you how it is. And me personally, I cuss sometimes, and I like to be mean and funny and aggressive sometimes too, but I just can't do it on a YouTube video because I feel like you shorten your audience. You tighten your group who really wants to hear that kind of thing. Some people don't want to hear foul language and this, that, and the other, and derogatory terms and whatever. Some people don't want that, and so I don't like to shorten my reach. I like to keep it broad. So, but I like what he does, but he's not in my top 5. All right, so we're moving on to the last question. Sorry that the video has been a little long. Let me pull up this question for us really quickly. Where did it go? All right, the last question here is from Christian Lamont, and he asks, what are your thoughts about using a high to low level signal converter to create pre-outs when your AVR does not have any to run separates like you would in the car stereo? So he left the link because somebody's done this. Here's what he's asking. How do you take a receiver that doesn't have pre-outs, it has built-in amplification, but doesn't have pre-outs for an extra amplifier? How do you convert that signal from high level, meaning speaker wire, to low level, which is RCAs? How do you convert that so that you can add separate amplification? How do I feel about that? In theory, it sounds great, right? Because you can take a lower tier receiver and convert its power into RCA inputs and outputs so that you can plug in your own amplifier and have tons more power. In theory, it sounds great, right? But here's how that works. An output converter takes a low voltage or a high voltage and turns it into RCAs so you can plug it into something else. But it doesn't clean up the signal or make it sound better as it gets transferred from high to low. It doesn't do anything, just changes the inputs and outputs, right? And maybe sometimes it ups the voltage if you need it. Well, lower tier receivers, you may have saved yourself money because you didn't have to buy the higher tier one, but lower tiers also don't have that well of amplification to start with, right? So some receivers say 140 watts at 2 channels driven, 150 watts, 2 channels driven, but that's exaggerated. We all know receivers are around 70, 80 watts. Some are a little more powerful than others, but 70, 80 watts per channel at most volumes works well for a receiver. So that's all you're gonna get coming through that RCA. So not only that is a problem, but lower tier receivers don't have the latest DACs, don't have the highest quality DACs, don't have all the processing, this, that, and the other. It's gonna sound the same. You're gonna have a lot more power, but it's gonna sound the same. Your amplifier is not gonna clean up that sound. It's not gonna condition it. It's not gonna sound the way it should. Getting a preprocessor or a receiver that has pre-outs, I think is a better sound overall than converting them. Although if you're on a tight budget and you don't want to spend that kind of money, a converter wouldn't be too bad if you can do it safely, for sure. I think it's a great idea if you can figure it out. Like I said, he sent a video over to me of somebody who did it. I haven't watched it, but I need to. I want to see what they did, because in theory, it sounds like a really good idea to take an older receiver, or maybe one that doesn't have pre-outs, and convert it and have pre-outs. You can add amplification. I mean, it sounds great, but just be aware, don't have too high of expectations, because you still have a lower tier receiver at the end of the day, and that can only do so much. Whatever your speakers sounded like when they were plugged up to the receiver is what it's gonna sound like when it's plugged up to the amplifier. It'll just have more power behind it. So be careful with that. But I do get the idea. Same thing in a car audio system. If you have a factory radio, my car had a factory radio, and I converted my high level to low level so that I can have amplifiers so I can play louder and everything. So yeah, that's great. But you don't have a processor in the middle to help that. You may have, you know, Odyssey calibration or something like that to help you. But at the end of the day, whatever your receiver sounded like before you converted it is still gonna sound like that again, because you can't do anything separately with the sound. But it sounds like a good idea. It might work. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for Q&A with Kpaceguy. The video got very long. The last one was long too, but I wanna make sure that I get all the questions answered the best of my ability. So we will do another one of these later on, probably late winter, maybe into the spring. We'll do another Q&A, so stay tuned. I usually post it in my community tab on YouTube. If you go to Kpaceguy's channel, on his homepage, you see the community tab. If you click that community tab, I post a lot of different things like giveaways, upcoming videos, Q&As, stuff like that for you guys, so you guys know what's going on. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that community tab every now and then to see what's going on with Kpaceguy behind the scenes so that you can stay in tune. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any more questions that need to be answered, leave them down in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe if you are not already. We will see you guys in the next one. Kpaceguy out. Peace.